Hello everyone and welcome along to the very warm and very well populated Suzuka for race one of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS. It's round 5 of our championship and it's a long weekend here in Japan, the official start to the summer, and therefore lots and lots of fans coming out to see some absolutely stunning machinery and a stunning day for it too. It is the rounds 5 and 6, our third weekend of the year. Next weekend, though, we head straight to Motegi for rounds 7 and 8, the last of the Japanese rounds in Okayama, and finishing the season at Sepang in September in Malaysia. My name is Ben Constanduros, and I'm going to be able to guide you through this first race of our weekend. We also have a special guest here this weekend, who is our leading car heading around this circuit, driving Bugatti Veyron, the man behind the name SRO, Stefan Rattel, a very, very happy man, celebrating his birthday also next week here in Japan.
So Stefan, we know that Suzuka circuit is a track you love, and also Japan is a country you love. How special is it for you to be here and along with SRO doing the Japan Cup, China Cup and the GT World Challenge Asia?
It's always a pleasure to be back to Japan and a pleasure to be back in Suzuka. As you say, it's a circuit I love. I raced here a number of times with a 1,000-kilometer race. I'm very pleased to see the Fanatec GT World Challenge grow in Asia and particularly in Japan with addition of the Japan Cup. And on top of that, I had the pleasure to drive these beautiful cars. Thank you very much. So I'm having a very good day.
That's great to hear. Let's look forward to a nice race today. 前澤さん、今シーズンはフル参戦ということで、もうどっぷりレース好きになりましたね。
もうちょっとまだけど成績がいまいちだから、あと3戦の今日入れて3戦残ってるんで、もう頑張ります最後までね。
ステファンさんと今一周してどうでしたか？
鈴鹿初めて走ったんで、なんかちょっと感動しましたね。僕らそのレース好きにとってはね、鈴鹿って言ったらもう聖地だから、この聖地を自分の車で走れたのは本当に嬉しかったです。
では素晴らしいレース期待したいと思います。So it was his first time racing on this Suzuka track and he loved it, to be honest, and he has a lot of ties to this circuit, so it was really great. And also for this full season, they haven't been showing too much strength yet, but they will push as hard as they can. Back to you.
Yusaku Muzawa, the fashion billionaire, also with us this weekend. Plenty of stories coming into race one of the weekend. Let's get the lowdown with our social man, Tom Hornsby.
Chang, Fuji, and now Suzuka. Welcome everyone to Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS, which this weekend hosts the first of 2 events inside 7 days. Motegi makes its championship debut next week, but before then, all eyes are firmly on Japan's iconic figure-of-8 Grand Prix circuit, where 37 GT cars are ready to race on Saturday and Sunday. Just 1 point separates the leading contenders after Prince Abu Bakr Ibrahim and Lukas Stoltz won Fuji's second race despite initially finishing 14th. The slew of post-race penalties helped 888 JMR score its second victory of the year and closed to within 1 point of championship leaders with the Colin Trapuvacak and Alessio Picarillo. Clashing commitments prevent Picarillo from racing this weekend. His place is taken in the AS Motorsport Porsche by Klaus Bachler. There's also a change in R&B's leading 911, where Patrick Pilet subs for fellow Porsche factory driver Dennis Olsen. The Norwegian and his co-driver Lu Wei lie third in the standings after scoring 2 podiums at Fuji. The European Le Mans Series clash has also accounted for Fanatec Japan Cup leaders Takeshi Kimura and Kei Cozzolino. That's good news for their nearest rivals D-Station and BMW Team Studi, whose crews are 2 and 5 points behind. Satoshi Hoshino and Tomonobu Fuji won race 2 at Fuji, before subsequent penalties dropped them to 7th overall. Expect D-Station's Aston Martin to be amongst the front-runners again this weekend. Japan Cup's GT4 class is also tight, but arguably its fastest entry is propping up the points table after Masaki Kano and Max Arido failed to score in Fuji's second race. Instead, it's Czech shop Kaimania's Naohiko Otsuka and Sho Kobayashi who lead the way courtesy of first and third place finishes. Their Porsche must now serve the maximum 15-second success penalty in race 1. In the Fanatec China Cup, Sun Jingzhu and Frankie Chen Kongfu top the standings thanks to their consistency, while Bo Yuan and Liu Yi Hongli are just a point ahead of their silver class rivals Ling Kang and Cao Kui. Other changes include former Super Formula and current Super GT driver Atsushi Miyake joining historic ace Katsuaki Kubota in Kref Motorsports McLaren, which last raced here at the Suzuka 10 Hours in 2019 with Mika Hakkinen. Former AM champion Takuya Shirisaka races FFF's Lamborghini, and Brock Feeney returns to 888 JMR's second Mercedes AMG. Lots to look forward to then at one of the world's great racetracks. A reminder that qualifying and both races are live on SRO's GT World YouTube channel, while J Sports has live coverage across Japan.
A great roundup from Tom Hornsby of what's been happening so far this year, and also last round in Fuji a couple of weeks ago, which ended rather confusingly. And if you're on our broadcast, you would have known nothing of the confusion and hours that went into working out the eventual result. Now, the confusion happened due to an issue with the safety car period. We have a safety car period on the start line, and the safety car went through the pit lane. All other cars should have followed the safety car through the pit lane, but as you can see, most stayed out on the racetrack. The car on the left-hand side, the HH JMR 888 engineering Mercedes, did go through pit lane, and therefore it was not penalised. Most of the other cars, bar 4, were penalised, and therefore that is how the 888 managed to take the victory. And therefore, in terms of the championship, it puts them just a single point away from Absolute Racing Porsche's Wutterkorn on the provisional top of the standings, with the R&B Racing Porsche in third position, 10 points back. Both Absolute and R&B with new teammates this weekend, no Dennis Olsen or no Alessio Piccarello, and therefore new pro drivers to help their gentleman drivers out. Abu Ibrahim and Lucas Stoltz in second position. So we have had qualifying already this morning in this humid conditions, and it was a frenetic affair. Red flags in both qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, slightly mixed up the grid, as well as a issue for the 29 Audi, which picked up a penalty post qualifying session. It means the number 4 of Patrick Pilet and Woulou will be third on the grid. The fastest car in practice session on Friday was this 500 Nissan, and that will line up on the front row thanks to Hirabon's effort in qualifying. And the pole position will be taken by Sawa in this McLaren. It was a time set in the first part of the session before the red flag. They went into the pits and decided they were not going to try and set a time in the second half of qualifying. The 29 Phantom Pro Audi did go faster, but had its time disallowed. In GT4, the BMW setting a time good enough to be comfortably on the pole, with Max Cano being the fastest man in the small GT4 field. Let's get down now to a very busy grid, and we have Amy with our pole sitter Kawa, who for a few moments didn't look like he had pole position, but eventually is on there in P1.
A very unexpected but fortunate start from pole position. What's the plan? What's the strategy?
We don't have any plan. Sorry, just a moment.
He's having a radio right now.
Radio is so loud, but our strategy is just simple. Just go ahead. And yeah, for my personally, I was very happy to get the pole position. I didn't remember when is the last time to get the pole position for me, and also this is not only for my personally, but also for the team. As I was I'm a chief principal, so I'm very happy and exciting to start from now.
Great. I wish you a great start and a good race.
Yeah, I try to keep this position, and Masataka-san is the first race for GT3, so for me it's okay because I did the race already 20 years over. He's the first time, so he's more nervous now. So.
Good luck to you both then. Have a great race. Okay, I think I have time for another interview. Let's go to front row to the GTR car. Quickly, ヒロボン選手、5次元ヒロボン選手、ここからのスタート緊張されますか？
かなり緊張してますね。
プランはいかがでしょうか？プランは
まあなんとか出れるんやったら前出てトップで帰ってきて次つなげたいですね。はい。
頑張ってください。応援してます。
頑張ります。
So yeah, he is very nervous about the start, but he will try his best and stay at this position and push as hard as he can to give the car to his partner. Back to you.
Great work from Amy there on the front row of the grid. Kitasawa sharing the car with Masataka Inoue. And he was mentioning that it's Masataka's very first GT3 race, so a completely new experience for his teammate. I think he qualified in the 20s in that McLaren. So the fascination of the two-driver race where you have a different quality in one car to the next will be very much played out on that front row with Hiroban sharing with Shintaro Kawabata. And a quick look then at the Suzuka circuit, a 5.8 kilometre length circuit. Expect lap times around the 2-minute mark. And we have officially 18 corners on this circuit. It's the one of only 2 Grade 1 FIA circuits to have a crossover. The only one in World Motorsport where we race at. And makes it very, very unique. And really the design of the circuit, not much changed in the years that it was built from late 1950s and started racing here in the early 60s. Nice to see the grandstands filling with crowds. The main grandstand well filled over the start and finish straight, and the pits and paddock area really swimming with people when I was down there a little bit earlier. So we've spoken to the front row. On third position on the grid is Lue with Patrick Pile, his teammate for this weekend, because Dennis Olsen is not here. Plenty of clashes of motorsport happening across the world this weekend, and so another Porsche factory driver flown in for the weekend at R&B Racing. And they will line up alongside the 29 machine of Phantom Pro. Kang Ling putting that car on the pole position, the silver driver, but unfortunately deemed to have ventured over track limits. Now we have car 19 reported as a non-starter. That's the spirit of FFF Racing, Lamborghini. We should see Okura in that car, but race control reporting that it is a non-starter. We also have car 33 under investigation for driving out of the pits in the wrong fashion. So a few drivers already being caught out by race control. Let's not forget that that car, the 37 machine, also has a drive-through penalty. They need to be taking that in the first 3 laps of the race, and that is for a on-circuit incident in free practice, where there was a little bit of a collision between Anthony Louis and another driver. Safety car has headed off, and now the green flag flies. And we're just getting everybody moving, and we can get the cars onto the warm-up lap. So Kitasawa is on the pole position alongside Hiroban, with Wei Lui and Kang Ling on row 2. That 29 car should be fast in these early laps. Bianyi and Wan Bo on row 3, and then Andrew Haryanto and Yuaki Nagai on row 4. That car was in the gravel trap in qualifying. Row 5, Okuru and Hoshino, so no Lamborghini missing from row 5. Row 6 is where we find our championship leaders, Vutakorn and Abu Ibrahim, and then Dennis Lind and Pitti on row 7. Row 8, Anthony Louis and the BMWs, only row 8. Row 9, Ferrari and Mercedes, Jeffrey Ibrahim in the 888 machine. Yingzu Sun and Kimiyoshi Mikura on row 10. Row 11 is Porsche and Audi. Row 12, Paul Ip and Jeffrey Lee. Row 13, EBM and Kref. EBM second on the podium after not picking up a penalty in Fuji either. Absolute Racing 27th, and then the 72 of Hub Auto on row 14. 15 is GPM and AMAC. 16 is K-Tunes and Run Up. 17 is Comet Racing, and then we have the 3 GT4 cars of BMW, of Toyota and Porsche. So as I say, Tom mentioned the 37 car grid in his preview. By the time that he'd recorded that, unfortunately, we did have a collision on circuit, which meant that we lost one of our GT4 cars, and that became 36. And it does look as though we have one non-starter. So the cars are told not to close the gap. They have to remember, as we're on a rolling start, to leave a hole where the Lamborghini should have been. And so race control making that point, otherwise the whole of the one row of the grid effectively moves up 2 positions. And he's quite high up on the grid as well, so there will be a hole on what should have been row, I think row 5. Yes, there we are. And a hole is already have been created alongside the D station Aston Martin. First couple of rows are already on the start line. It's been quite a fast warm-up lap for all these guys, and the cars are well spaced out, but the lights only turn green once we get to the start line down here, and we are racing here in Suzuka for round 5 of the championship. It's very, very close for the front 2, and actually a position lost there for the Audi. In 4th position, the Phantom Pro Audi dropping down to 5th position. Not a great start also from the number 4 Porsche. It's lost a position to the Mercedes. A bit of contact in the middle, and it's D Station facing the wrong direction. Oh, just gets clipped by one of the, I think the Porsche 911, and D Station sitting on the apex there. Really, really difficult with all the traffic coming by. And I think there will be damage for 911, which was Vutakorn, our championship leader. Not a particularly strong start from Vutakorn, and found himself just clipping. Now, it shouldn't be race-ending damage, but it will be damage that will hurt that car and its efficiency around the circuit. The number 3 Climax Racing of Hauban has got himself up into 3rd position, and that's a great little attack there. Down the inside from the 87 on the 4. So again, we're seeing those silver drivers making their way up through the field. 87 being Bob Guan, and he gets past Wei Lu. Say the best of the starters though has to be that number 3 Climax Racing Mercedes of Hauban, up into 3rd position. Double waved yellow flags in the S's. No sign yet that we are putting a safety car out or even recovering that car. I wonder if they're waiting to see if they can actually get that car moving. There's only a small bit of contact and only initially a spin from the 47, which Satoshi Hoshino started, the car that won on the road in Fuji before having its win disallowed. But at the front of the field, Katiyasawa leads Hiroban. Then Ban, Ling, Juan, Lu, and actually Vitakorn is in 7th position in the 911, so it must have been his teammate 992 that had that collision, and we are now going safety car to recover the 47. After one racing lap, the circuit becomes fully neutralised. We'll have yellow flags around the whole circuit, so no overtaking. And that will give the marshals a chance to recover the Aston Martin. I think they probably left it just to make sure that they weren't going to get that car moving once more. I'm afraid Satoshi Hoshino failed to do so. So let's have a look again. Look at the top of screen. I was watching the battle there for 4th position. Oh, and he was just, I think, helped around by the Porsche. And actually, the Porsche that hit him initially was the 18. That's the car that sent him into the spin. And I think it was the 8 that then caught him. We'll have to have a make sure, a check on the pit lane. Yeah, and I think the 8 is in the pits. So that makes sense then. Setiwen Santosho with a car bringing that EBM Porsche into the pits for repairs, and according to my timing screen is still in the pits. Right then, let's take a replay of the start and try and work out initially why the number 4 got such a poor getaway. Look to the left of your screen, that kind of turquoisey blue machine. On the right-hand side here, but just classic Mercedes grunt, just round the outside, and then was followed through by the Audi. And just glancing just to the top of the screen there is a Porsche in the pit lane, so confirmation then that the EBM Porsche was the one that clipped him. There it is, now fully taped up on the left-hand side. As I say, shouldn't be... oh no, hang on, is there something coming out of that car as well? Now, it shouldn't actually have come out of... the green light is at the end of pit lane, but usually when the safety car is going past pit lane, you shut the pit lane so that you don't get that confusion, which was about to happen, where the Porsche didn't actually know at what point it had come out and at which position it should slot into the queue. So with its taped up right front, I think it was simply cosmetic, and the contact with the Aston Martin wouldn't have affected the tracking or the wheel alignment of that car. On board with the car that should have been on the pole position, Kang Ling, with a great lap, but track limits meant that time was disallowed. Post-session, by the way, didn't see it during the session, and didn't get a particularly strong start. Has managed to get past the Porsche, the 87 there behind, and then the 4, and kind of, I don't know, kind of expected really, because Lu Wei in the heady heights of the silver drivers. We've got silver driver in the lead. We've got 4th and 5th also the silver drivers. And I suppose the other one that's kind of, let's say, out of position is Hao Ban. Look at that recovery. We need more of those in the world of motorsport. So efficient. Yeah, Hao Ban is an all bronze lineup. And so that is quite headied for the number 3 machine. Now, the 37 here needs to do a drive-through penalty, but of course it can't do a drive-through penalty under safety car conditions. And I'm actually surprised we've not seen race control remind the 37 that it needs to do that, because the penalty is from free practice. But usually race control would remind you that you have to do it, so that then you respond to that race control message. Race control also noting the entrance back onto the circuit of car 8. Ultimately, it is last because it is one lap down. So its position within the queue doesn't necessarily matter too much. Hearing that 29 has also got a drive-through penalty. The 47 has now been dragged off the circuit, but with safety car going across the start line now, we're going to have to wait another lap before we can go back to racing conditions. And that's a real shame for D-Station, who after winning on the road in race 2 in Fuji, they would have been hoping for really good results here, and certainly not a DNF. Didn't score any points in the first race in Fuji, and they weren't in Buriram, so that's in terms of the championship overall, they are missing out on some points. Here's the 555 Misawa Racing Ferrari. We heard from team boss and fashion billionaire on the grid, providing his Bugatti Veyron to Stefan Rattel to do a lap around the circuit. He was following in his Chiron, as you do. And later this year is heading up into to orbit the moon, thanks to Elon Musk's SpaceX project. He's already been to space once, and he will be taking 8 celebrities later on in the year to do a circumnavigation of the moon. But this weekend, he's here in Suzuka to follow his Ferrari team and to enjoy everything that there is to enjoy about the SRO events. Now, race control are going to be looking at that incident with the 47 because we think that he was tipped into that spin by the 18 Porsche Center Ozaki. Now, that car sits in 9th position right now, with Hiroki Nagaya aboard the machine that he put into the gravel trap, if you remember, in our first qualifying session, and caused a red flag. Both qualifying sessions had a red flag. Now let's have a look again. Just keep your eye at the top of shot. So, difficult one. Do you say that the Aston Martin is trying to shut the door on the Porsche and moving across, and there was nowhere for him to go? And there's that contact, quite light contact actually, with Earl Bamber Motorsport. Or do you say the Porsche was putting its nose in where it was not welcome? Either way, are we going back to racing? No, safety car is still out by the looks of things. Lights are all still on the top of the safety car. And so all these bronze drivers, remember we have the more experienced drivers getting into the cars for the second half of this race rather than in race 2 where they start and then the less experienced drivers get in for race 2. So this will have a more of an effect whilst we sit under safety car with the lesser experienced drivers. It soaks up their drive time. Well, you'll have seen that our timing screen slightly dancing around. That is because car 11 has not got a transponder working. Car 11 being Andrew Haryanto. That car was shunted in free practice, but the transponder not working means that when they all come over the line, his car will not register as finishing a lap, so it will start dropping down the order until race control manually put it back in place. So that's why we see the timing screens jumping about a little bit at the end of every lap. So safety car is in this lap. 37 is going to need to do its drive-through penalty. We are also hearing that the 29 needs to drive through, and the 8 is back in the pits. So the maybe more damage under the bodywork than was first thought. That's a real shame. In the Porsches, there's so much going on in the front bumper as well as not avoid space of simply kind of collision. You've got piping, you've got little radiators as well for cooling the engine. And it's very, very easy to damage those in those kind of contacts that we just saw. So into the spoon corner. This is about where we would expect the lights to go off on the safety car. There you go. As on cue. Now we need to start bunching up. The teams need to get onto their drivers. You are going right, especially the guys who are like 15th to 20th position. They will have very little idea of what's going on with the safety car up ahead. They won't be able to see the lights. And so it's now a time you are need to push, close the gap and get as tight as possible, because we saw actually the race start was quite loose. There was lots of space between the cars. So we are now hearing that 47 said that they were hit by the 18. There's also a collision between, I think that's 25 and 88 under investigation at turn 4. So plenty of action going on out on circuit in what was only about half a lap. 25 has also been in the wars. That caused red flags in both first and second sessions. Right, green flag flies, and we're back underway, and the car's weaving around the circuit to try and get some temperature into the tyres. It's been a really good start from Kitasawa. Look at the gap that he's managed to generate over Hiraban in second position, and Haoban in third is absolutely on the tail of that rather brutish Nismo Nissan. Now he's fallen back and into the clutches of Wan Li, and for class honours. There's a good little battle there with a not particularly fast qualifying 87 Bob Wan, but in race trim looking a lot more feisty. A little bit of gravel kicked up. A confirmation of drive-throughs for 29 and 37. So not only did 29 get a penalty for track limits in qualifying, it does seem as though it also got a drive-through penalty for something else. So bad to worse for those guys, but what they will want to do is try and do this as early as possible and hope that there might be another safety car where they can benefit. Of course, what will happen is that with the condensing of the field thanks to the safety car period, it's going to drop them right to the tail of the field when they do take the safety car. So I suppose if they wait 1 or 2 laps, then they might be able to fall back into the clutch. We've got safety car again. Oh, we've got a car, the Lexus is off, and it looks like it might have even hit the Armco barrier. That's a very unusual place to go off. And that, I think, is in, yeah, it's between Degner 1 and 2. So the K-Tunes Racing Lexus there of Hiro Fuji has hit the inside barrier between Degner 1 and Degner 2 and ripped off the front of that car. Oh, well, we'll have to put our feet up and relax again, because it's going to take a couple of laps to get that car recovered. The safety car should be in the S's, so that will quickly pick up our leaders. I'm not quite sure when these guys are going to expect it to do their drive-through penalties, because they're not really allowed to do it under safety car. Now, what's going on there? Looked like the 87 trying to get past the 29 through the S's. Maybe not completely clear that we were under safety car conditions. Here's our GT4 battle. The 3 cars lining line astern as they qualified, with the BMW ahead of the Toyota. Now, it was a really good qualifying from Max Kano in the BMW M Studio number 50. Well clear of the number 2 and number 3. Oh, we've got red flag out on circuit now. So have we got Armco damage at Degner that needs to be repaired? And if so, that would take too long to do under safety car conditions. So to allow the teams and drivers to have more racing time and not basically sit behind the safety car for the whole race, it looks as though we're going into red flag conditions. Oh dear. Well, it's good from a racing point of view, because it means when we go back to racing, then we can go back to proper racing. But it does sound as though we've got about 15 minutes to wait while they repair that Armco barrier. It's an unprotected Armco barrier. You can see what I was talking about in our qualifying show with regards to these big foam blocks that line most of the circuit. And there's a massive consideration that goes into where you put tyre barriers and where you put those foam Recticell barrier. Now, there's a K-Tunes Lexus that is stopped at that point. If we pan right, we'll see the front end of the car, which is no longer attached to the rest of the machine. And that front end has taken a bit of a chunk out of the unprotected Armco because it's gone off in such an odd place. All I can think of is that he's run wide in the first part of Degner, gone over the gravel, and that has then spat him in to the inside. Now, just looking at the timing screens there, Wittekorn made a very good start. Started down at 14th position in his Porsche. He's now up in 8th spot. I'm not quite sure how many of those were on. They must have been on lap 1 because we only have had about 1.5 laps of racing so far. So a very good start from the Thai driver that leads our championship in comparison to Anthony Liu, who lined up, sorry, not Anthony Liu, the 88 that lined up alongside him, dropping down the field to 27th. Wow, so the car of Prince Abu Ibrahim, just 1 point off the championship lead, started alongside the 911, but it has gone down to 27th, and Wittekorn has gone up to 8th. There he is going through shot. But how the fortunes have changed. Now, just trying to see as the 18 went through there, how much damage or contact or evidence of contact that bright kind of reddy orange Porsche has, because we hit. And we heard from the Aston Martin D-Station squad that there was contact from that 18 Porsche. Just a reminder that the teams cannot touch these cars. They're in parc fermé conditions. All that is allowed to happen, if the driver wants to get out, he can. Now, that's fine, but he'll need help getting back in. So maybe not necessarily the best idea to be getting out, undoing your belts. But with a heat soak of not running around the racetrack, because of course the various bits of the car that'll allow air to flow through the car, and it will feel like cold air, even though it's over 30 degrees air temperature. When you're running at speed, it does feel cooler. But now, as the cars come to a stop, the body heat and the heat in the car will really soak through. So a couple of the drivers will choose to get out, including Andrew Harrianto, we saw getting out. Now there is just a very little shot of the front end of the Lexus. I can't quite see it all. There is some absolutely awesome liveries in this championship. The Comet Ferrari there, with support from Car Guy, their truck here this weekend. Right, so let's have a look at the Race Vision powered by AWS, who made the best start, because we're talking about one lap here, and it looks as though the number 7 is being awarded with 8 positions gained on that first lap. Now he's down in 25th position, so that suggests to me as though he started at the back of the field completely. 8 positions gained up to 25th means that he started 33rd. So Yamagashi then, sometimes when you start last, it means that you've had not a particularly successful qualifying session. Best lap time? Well, we've only actually had one full racing lap. That was the first lap of the race, because we went yellow flag before we went safety car, and therefore it is effectively race order, isn't it? With Sawa, Hirobon and Ling. A chance to see that incredible gull wing door on the Mercedes as the Lexus gets onto the back of the flatbed truck. It doesn't look like too much damage to the barrier at the moment. Let's go down to pit lane then. And Amy has got a new driver to our championship this weekend. Klaus Bachler joins us in Asia for the first time, and he can tell us all about what it's like to be part of this championship.
So Klaus, there's not much racing going on at the moment, but welcome to this championship. And the team is currently leading the board. How does it feel to be part of this team?
Yeah, thank you. It's my first time here in Asia, in GT World Challenge Asia. Also the first time in Suzuka, so it's a really nice place. The team is doing very well. They are leading the championship. So the first 2 rounds went very well for them. And also today we are in a solid position. Now it's red flag, but everything is possible. I mean, for sure, I'm not here the whole season, so I try to help them as best as possible and help them for the championship. And I'm looking forward for my stint now.
You as a very experienced driver, how does it feel to be driving in a new track? And it's one which is worldwide famous.
Yeah, actually it's really cool. I mean, Suzuka is one of the tracks I always wish to drive. Obviously, I know it from earlier years when I watched the Formula 1 races here, so it's a really cool track. I have to say I like it a lot. Was really good fun the last 2 days. This year it's a bit new for me because I do a lot of new tracks. It's my first time in America in the IMSA Championship. So out of 11 tracks I knew only 2, so it's also 9 tracks there new, and this one plus Sepang. So it's an awesome year, a lot of new tracks, and as I say, I really enjoyed it to be here and drive here.
You must be a fast learner, I guess. Well, so you know, you as an Austrian, how is the humidity treating you?
It's really hot here. I was already getting ready for my stint. Then my helmet was already on, and then I saw a red flag. So now it's a bit more relaxed again. But honestly, it's really hot here, and I think everybody is sweating like hell. Not only in the car, also outside the car. But yeah, you need to get used to it.
So once the race gets back, you're going to jump in. All the best luck.
Thank you very much.
Back to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Now, let's not forget that the 96 car has a live onboard camera that you could be watching you could have been watching the full race on our YouTube channel alongside the main feed. And therefore, the eagle-eyed amongst you that's able to scroll back on that live feed will be able to see exactly what happened to the 96. Thank you very much to Aid for sending me the clip. And it does look as though he just bobbled over the first part of Degner and ended up on the left-hand side into the gravel. Somebody else had been off in front of the car. So there was a lot of gravel being kicked up in front of the 96, and by sticking a wheel over the curb and into the gravel, it spat it round, and then the car was pitched into the inside wall. I think the good thing is we aren't repairing the barrier. I was a bit worried that that was what was needed, and that's why I went to red flag, but I think it was just simply a better solution to get more racing, recovering this car under red flag conditions, than doing it under safety car, because the clock stops, so we can continue with our race. These lesser experienced, but for the majority of the teams, the more influenced drivers, they then actually get a couple of racing laps, touch wood, hopefully, because the pit lane would actually open between 35 and 25 minutes, so it's only 7 minutes away. Track temperature creeping up to the 50 mark. The sun is now out behind the carousel, and therefore we are at 32 degrees air temperature. The humidity dropping. We started the day with 80% humidity during qualifying, so this is better for those that fear humidity just a little bit. So race control are going to restart this race under safety car, and it'll be the order that these cars were at the lap before the red flag. And so that is basically the order in which we were under the last safety car. And I'm not quite sure how many changes we actually had in the kind of half a lap that we had after the safety car, but that's for race control to try and work out. I don't think there's too many. So alongside the main feed that we have on GT World, you can also ride on board with the 555 machine. You could have ridden on board with the 96, but unfortunately that obviously now is on the back of a trailer. The 29 and also the number 7 carrying live onboards. We can go down to the pit lane now with Amy, and she is catching up with the car which has caused this red flag, the 96 machine.
新田選手、今週末ちょっとKチューンズあんまりね、運がついてこなかったかなって感じなんですけれども、
いいことが起きてないですね。はい。
実際今何があったかって無線とかで伺ってますか？
ちょっと無線もつながってなくて今もう状況が把握できてないんですけど、一応映像僕見てた時は。多分なんですけど、デグナコーナーを1つ目を進入するときに立ち上がる時点で前にいた多分数台がデグナコーナーちょっと飛び出したんだと思うんですね。で、砂煙がかなり強く上がってたんで、おそらく前が全然どういう状況になってるか分かんない、その砂煙をちょっと避けようとしてたんじゃないかなと。それで右側の巻き込んで。ガードレールにヒットしちゃったんじゃないかな。
でもドライバー自体は大丈夫ですかね？
歩いてるのは確認できたんで、ちょっと実際にどうなってるのか分かんないですけど、おそらく大丈夫だとは思うんですけど、皆さんにちょっといろいろご迷惑をかけてすいません。
いやもう気持ちを切り替えてまた次へ目指して、頑張っていただきたいと思います。
頑張りたいと思います。
お疲れ様でした。ありがとうございます。So he doesn't really know what happened, but as far as he could tell from the screen, it was at the Degner corner where a lot of dust comes up, and the driver probably tried to get away from the dust and then kind of spinned or something around that. The radio is not functioning, so they don't actually had any communication with the driver yet, but we saw him walking, so he guesses that he's okay. That's the situation. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Amy. As we said, there was a lot of dust in the air, and it may just have taken the attention away from the ultimate best racing line for Hiro Fuji, and just found himself off track, and then the car spat into the barrier. Right then, let's have a look back at the very start of the race, because this is about the only lap that we've had of racing so far. And it wasn't a particularly strong start from the number 4 on the right-hand side there. And Mercedes getting through and gaining 2 positions. A very, very good start from the number 3 Mercedes. And then side by side for 4th position, but we look further back, the D station spins around. Almost everybody misses him, except for the EBM Porsche, just clipping the rear end. And I'm surprised, actually, the Aston couldn't carry on from there. But we did 1 full racing lap and then went safety car after that. So there were a few more opportunities to overtake before the end of the lap. And then we went safety car conditions. And on that safety car restart, we had half a lap. And then we had the 96 lose his rear end through Degner 1 and go into the wall. So just a couple of moments then before we will get these cars rolling back onto circuit once more. The safety car getting himself into position. Thank you for sticking with us online. If you are across this first race here in Suzuka, we will of course have our second race tomorrow lunchtime. And then next weekend as well. We've got a double header for you with Motegi playing host for the first time. We also have had, since the last round of the championship, a provisional calendar for next year. It was a very provisional calendar, but a nice idea of where we might be running next year, which looks to start with our flyaway races in Malaysia and Thailand, and then for the rest of the season stay in Japan, with the end of the season visiting China for the first time in a few years. So lots of excitement. The calendar's not fully confirmed yet. It doesn't have dates or anything, but it certainly has an idea of where we might be going in 2024, which is great to have in the middle of July. Usually we'd have to wait a couple more weeks for a calendar. But of course the 24 hours of Spa, the headline act in GT3 racing calendar, taking place a couple of weeks earlier than usual because of the date of the Formula One Championship going to Spa. And that seems to have been a fixed date for next year as well, thanks to Formula One. So once again, the Spa 24 Hours will be in the first week in July rather than in the last weekend July, as we have had for many, many years. Just a reminder that we are going to go racing in a few moments' time. As the safety car leaves the pit lane, the timer will start. So I don't know whether race control may delay the pit lane window, considering we haven't had any racing really in the first 20 minutes of this race. And that would then force teams to give these bronze drivers a little bit more time in the car. Or if the window stays as it is, teams will be pressed and desperate really to get most of these drivers out and put their faster drivers in for the second half of the race. And so we might find that these bronze drivers only get themselves 1 or 2 more laps of racing, because the window opens at 35, and if you're running to the strategy for best performance, you get your bronze driver out as quickly as possible and put your platinum, gold or silver driver in. For the silver pairings, it matters a little bit less, but of course there will always be a faster and a slower silver. It's just been decided by the teams which one they, which stint they partake in. Fans young and old around the circuit, getting himself lined up for a good photo. And here we go then. Safety car is rolling. We aren't green flag racing. We are under safety car conditions. And I would imagine that, well, it's certainly in European racing, we'd do 2 laps behind the safety car because we'd need to get everything back up to temperature. Not quite sure if that's necessary in the in the temperatures we've got here today. By the way, the sights and sounds of GT3 cars roaring around Suzuka once again. On board with the 555 Mazda Racing Ferrari. As I said, one of now 3 cars that you can follow separately on our YouTube channel and ride on board throughout the whole race. You can also scroll back to see exactly what's happened to Peter in the first couple of laps. And he'll be handing over to Naoki Yokomizo for the second part. As I say, the clock has now started and pit lane opens at 35 until 25. That's how it usually is. The other thing, of course, is we've got the number 29 and number 37 who still have to do their drive-through penalties to tick off. Here is the 29. Now, they should have done their drive-through penalties within 3 laps of the announcement that they had to do it. And I suppose we haven't had 3 laps yet, but that's going to be quite hard to do considering we've had the red flag period. So it's going to be quite that's a bit of a head scratch. They'll have to be on the radio to race control to ask exactly how that's what the limitations are to their drive-through penalty. As I say, they would want to try and get it out of the way. Potentially would like to try and get it out of the way as soon as possible. But then the other train of thought is leave it as long as possible, because the field spread will eventually spread out so much that you'll lose less positions on track. Right, the lights are off on the safety car, so we are going to go straight back to racing conditions. That's going to give these bronze drivers around 5 minutes of race action. The Toyota Supra heads off into the distance. And here comes Kitasawa, who has already made a break in the McLaren. And there's a decent gap between it and the Nissan Nismo. The GTR, second position, and it's not under pressure at all, really, from the number 3 either, of Halban. A really good restart from our front couple of drivers, and well spaced out between the field generally. Looking down the inside, a dive bomb. No, it wasn't quite close enough. Drive-through penalty being served straight away here by the 29 and the 37. So they're doing it as early as possible. In terms of track position, it's going to drop into the very, very tail of the field. Ah, they're being held. Oh no! That's even worse. Look, red light on the pit lane exit because the field is coming past and they're being held. So suddenly a drive-through penalty becomes worse and worse and worse. Now the last car has gone past the pit lane. They are now released onto the circuit. But the team didn't think of that, did they? Look how much ground they will have lost. Our leaders into the hairpin. That's about a minute and a half lost. That's really, really going to hurt them generally. Kitasawa leads Hirobon, leads Halban. And then the second of our silvers in 4th position. Bob Wan in the Porsche. Second of our Pro-Ams is the R&B Racing of Lu Wei. And third is Andrew Harrianto, moving up into 6th position in his Audi. That was the car that we saw having a sniff at Lu going through the S-curves. And Bittercorn has also made up a position, hasn't he? Because he was... no, he's inherited 7th because the 29 has gone into the pits. But that's not bad, from 14th on the grid up to 7th position, really, with not much work having been done. Little battle going on here. And this is Nagai under pressure. Oh no, so Nagai's got through on Vitakorn. And now Pitti in the Ferrari looking to do the same. The two Thai drivers together for 8th position. And we're now waiting for the pits to open and see who jumps first. Vitakorn there, championship leader, 8th position. Just lost that spot, that 7th spot to Nagai in the 18. But the effect of your bronze driver has been nullified by the safety car periods and our red flag. So all the cars are together. That 25 seconds covers the top 24 cars. No real progress there from the 88, second the championship. Abu Ibrahim not making a good start. Oh, side by side further back into the hairpin. Oh my lord, the 60 has lost a lot of positions there. In 13th position, but seemed to kind of park on the exit. Now Jeffrey Ibrahim in the Mercedes trying to get involved here with Ip just ahead. That was very, very odd for Nakashini. He was on the outside line, yes, but he was just being dive bombed by everybody. Almost as though he was not quite in the right gear or something. Jeffrey Ibrahim in 16th position here, under pressure from the 992 of Yinglong Bao. And Bao off the line here, so he's going to be dive bombed potentially by the number 5 BMW Yamaguchi down the inside of the chicane and makes it stick. Nice work, all because the attack was not successful. A classic thing is if you can't make a pass work, you're going to compromise yourself by the cars coming in from behind. Momentum lost then for Paul Ip. And pit lane is now open, the window is open, and so some of the cars at the tail of the field already able to take advantage. The 72 Hub Auto, Maurice Chen, bringing his Porsche in. And the first exchange, he's going to be handing over that car to Alvaro Parente, the Portuguese driver. Further back, for the other Nissan from Run-Up. Nishikawa handing over to Tanaka. But the window opened only when the last couple of cars were coming down the road, so the early runners couldn't take advantage of that. Now, we've got two silvers up in at the front of the field here. Don't necessarily expect them to pit straight away, because look at the clear track that Sawa has, and we know also from what he said at the start of the race that Inoue taking over that car has not got the same experience than Kita, and so they will be waiting until the end of the window, I imagine, before they make their pit stop. Maybe the same for this 87 Porsche. Also a double silver driver pairing in that car. No, he comes straight into the pits, completely wrong. So that will be Bob Wan handing over to Yi Li. And pretty much everybody else is now coming into the pits. It's going to get very, very busy in pit lane. Oh, and the Ferrari's off the circuit. This will be the time then to make your pit stop if there is a delay out on track. It's not been a very happy lap for Nakashini. I wonder whether he had an issue with his car. Change of tyre, left front tyre, as we get back going again, the 488. And the 888 now comes into pits. So we've got everybody making their pit stops right now. Kitasawa is able to keep his head down and being followed by the all AM entry of Hao Bian. The only all AM entry to ever take victory in an overall victory. Very impressive feat that was done a few races ago. And just look at the pace that Hao Bian has got. He's able to really keep up with Kitasawa. Now we've had our driver exchanges. Kawabata for the GTR 500 team back out onto circuit. And we'll just let the graphics and live timing catch up on itself as to exactly where everybody is, and we can then start focusing on a motor race for the last half an hour. Kitasawa stays out, but we just saw a glimmer of traffic ahead. And yeah, look at this, they are coming into cars around them. So whilst you've got clear track, it's absolutely fine. The issue is, when you start having to follow slower cars, that's when you need to pit and get yourself back out onto the track amongst those that you're fighting with. Wow, it's going to be a baptism of fire, isn't it, for the second McLaren driver? Because Inoue is going to have to be fighting with the very best in the world of GT3 racing, the likes of Klaus Bachler, Dennis Lind, Daddy Ucadello, although Ucadello way down the field, the 37 with that drive-through penalty. Same with the 29 off my timing screens. What they really need is a safety car period now in this second session to bunch them all up again, to any chance of them getting a decent result. Now the gap coming down a little bit between Yiban and Kitasawa. And actually Yiban also under pressure here from a back-marking Mercedes, the 85, giving him some hassle. So that will be Maxi Goetz. And of course, Goetz is a much faster Mercedes, but here Goetz is getting held up. And having taken over the 85 machine, will be desperately wanting to have a clear track. He dives down the inside, gets that position done, because he needs clear track to do as best as possible. Right, Sauer into the pits. Our first two, our last cars to pit, in fact, now doing their pit stops. Maxi Goetz is handed a nice clear track. The question is, who is second? Who is third? Who is the third car to come across our timing line? Right then, Kitasawa jumps out. In comes Maso Inoue. Plenty of lower level experience for Inoue in the world of GT3 racing in the Super Tackle Series, but not at this kind of level of headline GT3 racing. He gets himself a new pair of boots. Don't forget that the pit stops are all timed as well. So you have a minimum pit stop time that you're allowed to take. And that is 99 seconds. Sorry, no, it's 90 seconds. But a couple of our cars with their pit stops elongated because of success, including the 88. And the 88 not on my screen. That is the Abu Ibrahim car that Lucas Stoltz is now driving, down in 27th position. So McLaren stays ahead then, comes out the pits ahead of the Nismo GTR. We saw that on screen, but I think Kawabata may well have got ahead of the Mercedes for second spot. And now it's about how long Inoue can hold on to the lead. Yamaguchi comes over the line in what was about 20th position, but critically it's what's going on at the head of the field. So it's Inoue leading. Now in the number 3 car is Kui Hu, the second bronze driver. We've still got, according to our graphics, Ling in the number 29. Kang Ling yet to pit. Going to have to pit very soon though. The window's going to shut in a minute and a half's time. And that's going to drop him and the number 37 down the order. Kind of curious really, because I'd have thought they would have wanted to get, certainly in a 37, they would have wanted to get Danny Ukadela aboard that car. But according to the graphics, only now do those 2 cars come in to make their second stop. So that is going to promote. Oh, let's go to.
P1 からスタートしていろいろトラックの中ありまして、でも無事に車を持って帰ってきました。レース時間はね短かったですけれども、無事に
ボールポジションの優位性を使っていいペースで車のバランスもいいですし、チームもいい仕事をピット作業もしてくれて、大体予定通り、予定外だったのはセーフティーカーが多すぎたっていうだけで、セーフティーカー中は暑いんですよ。はい、だから早くペースで走りたいっていう感じでしたけど、はい、でも今のところ順調です。
この後どういうレースを展開してきますか。
はい、井上選手が初の GT3 レースでプロに揉まれますんで、この後何が起きてもおかしくないかもしれないけど、フィンガークロスですね。
I will keep my fingers crossed. All of the people who are here are cheering for you. So 頑張ってください。引き続き。
はい、Thank you so much. Please cheer for us, SRO Motorsports. Thank you.
So there was not much racing going on. It was quite unexpected that there was a lot of safety car and then a red flag. But the balance of the car is good. He brought back the car safely, so he's very happy about his stint. His partner Inoue is racing in this championship for the first time, so he wants to keep his fingers crossed for him, and let's see where they end up. Back to you.
They were in the lead of the race. They've now lost a position to the 500 Nissan. So Kawabata, you can see there on our timing screens ahead, and loads of frantic action going on circuit. It's difficult to know where to look because we've got the number 3 in this little gaggle pack, and this is for effectively third position. Who in the number 3, number 11 of Yu, Backler in the 911 is in there as well. Kimura in the 18 and Patrick Pile in the number 4. And they're all trying to work out which part of the racetrack they're occupying. And they're all also chasing down Inoue. There is Inoue at the front of shot. He's lost the lead to Kawabata. Danny Ukadela down the inside of this battle for the first of the naughty boys, I suppose. I don't know quite where they sit in the timing screens, but the two of them with their drive-through penalties, with their 2 pit stops now. And Kuikau and Danny Ukadela on the same bit of track. Now, who's that coming up behind them? I wonder if that's Lucas Stoltz in the 88 or Feeney in the 888. Either way, I'm sure it's not for position. No, it is Lucas Stoltz. It might be for position because Stoltz is down in 23rd spot. I think it will be actually by the time the timing screens sort out where those 2 cars are. As the leaders in GT4, no changes in the GT4 category. Number 50 leads number 71, leads 718. But there is a huge queue forming behind Inoue for second position. And whoever is able to get out at the front of that queue first is going to give themselves a really nice bit of breathing space behind, because the more you get past them, here they are, as each car passes, each car will then the rest of them will get stuck behind that McLaren. And actually Inoue's pace on this last lap much stronger. Kawabata's 6.6 up the road in the Gojigan Nissan. Oh no! Short pit stop for the car 16 and the... Oh wow, it's car 16 with a 6-second stop-go penalty. So that is a disaster for the McLaren. I said that there was a pit stop window that they needed to abide by, and it looks as though our McLaren, that was the leader of the first part of the race, was on the pole position, has completed its pit stop too quickly. So that is going to drop them way down the order. The 37 and the 29, 21st and 22nd, that was the battle that we were watching. So out of the points, and they had Lucas Stoltz chasing them down. And so Stoltz has now got past the 29 of Kui Kao, Chinaman. And Juncadella's now ahead. Next car that they've got to chase down is Miyake in 20th position in another of our McLaren 720Ss. But this is good performance. It's going to be a shame to lose Inoue from this point of the track, because it's really nice to see the this new driver holding on and being able to set a decent pace. You know, we got Bakler and Pile in this little group here, and he's not being chased hand over fist. A little bit wide there through Spoon. Now, we could say drive-through penalty, car 29 and 37 will be investigated after the race. So almost as though they drew their drive-through penalty when the pit lane was shut. It was obviously the pit exit was shut. We saw the red light at the end of the pits, but maybe it was shut as well. Now down the inside, 9-11 on 11 there. Klaus Bakler gets past Yu and also compromises him as the McLaren comes into the pits. It's day done then for Inoue. What a shame. But now you see the 11 compromised out of the last turn. And Kimura looks to the inside but can't find a way through. And James Yu holding on for the moment in the Audi R8. Kamimura in the 18, and Patrick Pile almost kind of watching at the moment in that number 4. But with Klaus Bakler now at the head of this little gaggle, he needs to get a wriggle on. Remember that Bakler car is the leader of our championship. Pile third in the championship. Right, so the number 6 has now taken its drive-through penalty. 16, back out on the circuit. And we'll get a chance to see where it falls. James Yu really relying upon the traction control of that Audi R8 as it comes out of the hairpin. The back end squirming around. And with that overheating of the tyres, Kamimura will also be smelling that burning rubber, will be desperately knowing that the Audi is struggling. Pile. New into that car this weekend, but will have raced many a car like it in previous years. Flashing the lights on Kamimura. Let's get past. Let's try and find a way through. But the pace is good between these guys. Last laps in the early fives, about the same as our leader, Kawabata, in that GTR. The combination of those two drivers so much stronger than the two individually. It's quite interesting to see that in qualifying, and Kawabata actually didn't particularly set the world alight in his qualifying session against all these drivers. But the two together, and they have a 7.5 second advantage. Race control will be investigating the stop and go penalty of car 16 as well. Just to make sure they were compliant. Right, 888. Not the place where you would expect to find Brock Feeney. Down there in 24th position, flashing his lights and trying to find a way past Green Cow. Now, that is the third in silver, the 29 machine. And it's not been a very strong opening stint for either of the JMR 888 machines, has it? Because the 88 is 22nd and the 888 is down in 24th position. Right, so we've had our pit stops in GT4. BMW still leads from, I think, Porsche now in second position, and BMW just trying to get out of the way as some of our fast boys come barreling through. Now 11th in the race, Kondo in the Porsche that has spent a lot of time off track, whether it be in the gravel trap or in the barrier here at 130R. We're now seeing that the 25 cars that drive through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So it's really, really going a bit pear-shaped for that 25 crew. They need a new day, really, don't they? Now Inoue came out in front of Danny Ukadela. This will be a nice little challenge for the youngster. This is a battle for P20. Ukadela with his double pit stop. Of course, the McLaren also has made a double pit stop. Wide! Oh no, wide through the first turn, but somehow keeps the momentum up through the hill. And for the moment, will keep Danny Ukadela behind him. Now, this is not what Ukadela wants, because he's just managed to clear Lucas Stoltz, who is in the back of shot there. And Brock Feeney has just managed to get past the 29 machine as well. And so he too will be hunting Ukadela down. Ukadela looks to the inside of Degner. Is there a space there? Yes, there is. Lovely move by the Spaniard. So much experience, but look how much closer Lucas Stoltz has got to Ukadela just by Ukadela having to follow the McLaren through the first part of the lap. No chance into the hairpin for Lucas Stoltz. But under acceleration, perhaps there's an opportunity. There's our leader. Go Jigen, Nissan GTR GT3. Kawabata now aboard that car, showing the gap to Klaus Bachler in second. And then James Yu in third, now with huge pressure from Patrick Pile. Pile's got ahead of Kamimura and is now putting that Audi under some pressure. First stint in the 11 car, Andrew Harrianto. In the number 4, of course, it was Lu Wei. And they've both cleared Kamimura in the 18. Oh, and a bit of hit and shove there from Patrick Pilet. Not really a place you would expect to find an overtake it through Dunlop, but either way, he's nuzzled his way through, and Pilet moves himself up into 4th position. Now, is there any damage to that Audi? Because he's lost a position to Kamimura, and now the 555 Ferrari is coming ever closer. Yokomizo. Have a look at the side of that Audi. Is there any damage? Let's have a look here from a different angle. Pilet just sends it up the inside there, and then drifts a little bit wide and elbows the Audi off the circuit. I think that's a bit unfair, really. Didn't need to be quite so physical. Either way, it has been done now. I think that James Yu has got himself back up to speed again. And obviously you're going to get slightly distracted by being kind of knocked off like that. The only other thing is, because he had a bit of steering lock on when the contact happened, he might have a bit of damage, or just knocks the steering out a little bit, so you don't quite get the response from the car through certain turns as you go from one way to the other. Yokomizo looks to the inside. There is no space really into turn 1. It's more of a braking zone through that first turn into turn 2. This is really where the opportunity is. Now, distraction techniques from the Ferrari. Never going to make an overtake there, but if you move out from the mirrors, then the driver ahead will look in the mirrors, not see you, and be a bit worried as to where you are. Could force a mistake, especially through those S-curves where you're constantly going from left to right. But look at the pace of these two right now, compared to Dennis Lind, who is there in the Mercedes, and behind Lind is Frankie Chen in the Audi. Those two have caught these two very, very fast indeed. Although actually the Audi has been passed by Yi. So Leo Yi up to 8th spot, leading in silver. Different mentality from the 87 Porsche, because ultimately in class doesn't need to really do anything. Doesn't want to compromise his race by battling with these guys around him, and it's going to be a fierce one, because you get the feeling that Yu doesn't have the pace of certainly Dennis Lind and Frankie Chen. Kawabata now leads by just 1 second between himself and Klaus Bachler. Patrick Pilet 7 seconds back, but he's now on a mission. We've got 8.5 minutes remaining. There is the gap for the lead. It's not going to change yet, is it? But it could easily change soon. Klaus Bachler being brought into the team to replace Dennis Olsen this weekend, and doing exactly what Porsche and what Vitakorn ordered. That car has not yet won a race this season. It leads the championship, has been on the podium in 3 of the 4 races, but has yet to stand on the top step. Of course, he's replacing Piccarello, not Dennis Olsen. Patrick Pilet replacing Dennis Olsen in the number 4 machine. Looks to the outside, no way through there, but Bachler is also going to be looking at that Toyota and thinking how he can use the slower GT4 car to his advantage. They nearly go side by side to go around it, and Klaus was very, very wise to just back out of overtaking at that point, because it was never really going to work. It was going to end up in a massive, massive accident. Ooh. Car 4, drive-through penalty for causing contact. That is Patrick Pilet's move on James Yu, being penalised very heavily. The hip and shoulder was too aggressive, says race control. Right, Backler needs to reset himself. There was an opportunity there, but ultimately the back marker made sure that it couldn't happen. Much more momentum through the chicane for Klaus Backler. He was going to go to the outside, he switches to the inside, but by doing so has had to come out the throttle. Kawabata goes defensive over the finishing line. Again, the first turn not the best place to make a move, but maybe into the second turn, into the braking zone. Yes, the door is open. Oh, and it's put him off. Kawabata wiggles on the exit, loses the momentum, and Klaus Backler takes the lead. Again, that classic thing of just being a little bit nervous about the car behind you. And suddenly he looked in his mirrors and was unaware of where Backler was. The drive-through penalty from Patrick Pilet taken absolutely instantaneously, losing as little time possible, and comes out behind. I think that was the BMW. So he's come out in 13th position between Ara and Hu. Backler leads then. Kawabata, second position. In third, back up to third now. Kamimura, but 7 seconds back from Kawabata. As the graphic resets Patrick Pilet's position, as I say, I think he'll be down in 13th once that graphic catches up with us. And ever more, the Ferrari 555 of Yokomizo gets closer to a podium. We heard from team boss Mazawa on the grid that it hadn't really been going their way this year. And indeed, points-wise, they have a single point to their name from Fuji. But this is a much, much better result, and it's always good to have a good result when the team boss is on site. Back markers just getting out the way of Klaus Backler. That's the second of our GTRs, down in 29th position, now losing a lap. Not a massive amount of progress being made from Danny Juncadella. 19th position. He has got past Inoue. We're kind of focusing our attention on the front of the field, so missed Inoue dropping behind Juncadella, Stoltz, Kondo and Feeney. But in a way, something you would kind of expect. Whoa, Backler having to risk it round the BMW there. Going around the outside is not ideal. Finds a way through. Kawabata losing almost 2 seconds to Backler on that last lap. And only losing half a second to Kamimura behind. So, in theory, that is enough to hold on with just 3.5 minutes remaining. We shouldn't see too many changes. Well, I think Liberati in the Honda up to 8th position. I think that was the change that we just saw on our timing screens. Or was it actually at the 87? I think it might be the 87 of Liu Yi moving up a position to 7th position in P1 in silver, miles ahead. P2 in silver though could be up for grabs because Inoue now has fallen into the clutches of our one-time pole sitter, the 29 of Cal. Those 3 cars entered into silver, and Inoue obviously at the very head of the field initially, in the hands of team owner Kitasawa. Inoue taking over that car And unfortunately, the pit stop being too short really is the main reason as to why he's down in 23rd position. Wonder how much he would have been able to hold on with his frantic pace at the head of the field. There is our P1 leader in silver, R&B Racing. And actually, in a right big battle here, because, oh, look at the traffic they've got ahead of them. I was about to say, it's quite frenetic. We've got two GT2 cars going side by side, and there's no space for the GT3 cars to get past those GT4 machines. Unbelievably, it looks like they've all managed to get through without causing any issues. But wow, huge traffic to contend with. And that is 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th position altogether. Backler goes through. Kawabata goes through. Kamimura then flashing through in 3rd position, a car that was in the gravel trap in Q1 that sets the grid for this session. Might find himself on the podium here. Here's the 555 then of Yokomizo, looking at the tail of James Yu in the battle for 4th spot. What we don't see from this is he's got Dennis Lind right behind him, and Lind has got Yi, and Yi's got Liberati, and Liberati's got Chen. It is absolutely huge pack of cars that were all bottled up behind the leading GT4 car going through the S-curves. And luckily they all got away with it. 30 seconds remain on the clock there. Klaus Bachler comes over the finishing line to start his last lap. He is clear ahead of Kawabata. Maybe Kamimura has enough left in the tank to close down the gap to Kawabata for 2nd spot. I think it's asking a lot from the Porsche. And then how much is going to change in that battle for 4th position. You got Yokomizo, Lin, Yi, Liberati, Chen, they've all got an opportunity. And they'll all know there's one last lap remaining, and that opportunity is now or never to make up positions. Keep an eye on Klaus Bachler. No real issues for the Austrian here. A very, very well-driven stint on a circuit that he has no experience on. 2 new tracks to tick off his track list. But piloted perfectly by Wittekorn in the first part of the race. A really good start from Wittekorn, from 14th up to 7th at the pit stop, even though there was very few laps for him to do that. And then Bachler taking over and getting himself to the front of the field. We'll keep an eye on the timing screens to have a look to see if anything's changing further behind. Well, quite rightly, we follow Bachler around the last couple of corners here at Suzuka for the first of our races this weekend. Wittekorn and Klaus Bachler have taken victory for AS Motorsport by Absolute Racing. The checker flag falls for Kawabata in 2nd position as Absolute celebrate the victory. Kamimura in 3rd spot. Our podium is set. And look at the chaos behind. 4th is for you. Dennis Lind in 5th position. Yokomizo drops to 6th. Yi to 7th position. Liberati and Chen round out the top 10 with Mikael Mack in 10th spot. And the first of our pitters, Alvaro Parente, in 11th position. Still waiting for the first of our bronze drivers. Our all bronze lineup of Climax Racing dropping down to 16th overall. Here is that battle for the last couple of points, or even no points awarded, just chaos as Juncadella, Stoltz, Feeney, Kondo come across the line. And we're waiting for the second in silver now, which should be Inoue. It's quite far back is Massa. The flag should confirm it does. His second in silver, which puts Cap third in silver. That is a real disappointment from for that McLaren, with Sauer leading after the pit stops, but getting the pit stop length wrong. What a very entertaining race, very fragmented sessions from our GT3 races so far this weekend. Both qualifying sessions with red flags, and race one also with a safety car and a red flag. But once we got those more experienced drivers in the second half of the race, some very, very entertaining action. There's the GT4 winner. Pole position was never really challenged, was it, the BMW? And whilst they sit at the bottom of our championship coming into this race with just 25 points, they will leave today with the same amount of points as our championship leaders. Bachler achieving a feat that his fellow Porsche Works driver has yet to achieve this year, in that he will stand on the top step of the podium with Vitakorn Anthropouvasak, his teammate. And it wasn't just Klaus's doing as well. Vitakorn with such a good opening stint. From 14th on the grid in what, I think 3 racing laps? I don't think they got much more than that. But he got himself up into 7th position before the pit stop. It's a 4th podium in 5 races for the car. But yes, a first win.
Well, thank you. Different. The pace was compared to everybody else. Good job. Thank you.
Compared to everybody else, the pace was amazing. He didn't get the fastest lap of the race though. A 2:02.7 was the fastest lap of the race. And that went to Juan Bo, I think. A little debrief with Vitakorn. And in a few moments' time, we'll get a chance to hear from our winners down in Parc Fermé. And they'll be able to enjoy an evening of relaxing before getting themselves ready for tomorrow's middle of the day race. Let's go down to Amy then, who, as you can see, has Vitakorn and Klaus to speak with.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Vuti, this is the cherry you have been looking for the whole season. You just put it onto your championship. Congratulations. How do you feel?
Thank you. I mean, finally, you know, I didn't actually expect it because I didn't do a very good qualify, but I just keep my head down, you know, and try to handle the car back to Klaus, and he did a very mega job, you know, thanks to the team and Klaus.
Klaus, may I call you the golden boy of today? You know, he started P14 and then went up to 7th, and you went up to P1. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, it's a really good day for us. The car was amazing. We had a great pit stop also, so in the end we did 0 mistakes. And this is already half of everything, you know. I mean, no mistakes at the pit stop. Really good car. I could drive consistent. The others I could see they struggled a bit more next to me. And in the end, we did a very good job after qualifying, because in qualifying we we had not the balance what we liked the most, but in the end, that's sometimes how it is in racing. Track conditions are different, but we did a perfect small change for the race, and it was amazing. So I'm really happy.
In the interview before, didn't you say it was a dream to race in Suzuka? First time in Suzuka and your first win already. How does that feel?
Yeah, of course. I mean, Suzuka is a really special track. I'm really happy to be here. So I was looking forward to this race when the team asked me if I can replace Alessio for Suzuka in Sepang. I really was in love when I heard Suzuka, because it's one of those iconic racetracks where everybody wants to drive once. And for sure, I mean, if you win here, also winning is everything. I mean, we all do this for the victory in the end, and when you get this feeling, I mean, it's all the hard work you do before. It's, you know, I mean, you get just a great feeling about this.
Congratulations again, Vuti. What does this mean towards the championship?
Well, we have to keep this momentum. You know, I can't say anything now because it's a long way to go. So we just keep doing our good job.
We have another race tomorrow, so not much time for celebrating, but I hope you get to celebrate and rest well. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Back to you.
That's the thing. Suzuka is a real driver's track. It's a circuit that has very much not really changed since it was designed in the 60s. And so it rewards the very best drivers. And today, that was very much Klaus Bachler and supported very well by Vitakorn Intrab Puvasak. Hiribon and Kawabata holding on to second position for Team Gujigen and the Nissan GTR. And then it's Kamimura and Nagai in the 18 Porsche on the podium. And considering they're in the gravel in this qualifying session, that is a real achievement. Haryanto and Hui also crashing their car in practice yesterday and ending up 4th spot. There's some of those retirements and a few cars not making it to the full distance. Let's then have a look at the highlights of this first race. Race 1 in Suzuka with the McLaren of Sauer on the pole position and down to turn 1. The best of the starters was this Mercedes, down through the middle and up into 3rd position for number 3. But then we had the first incident, the number 7 D station, Aston Martin spinning in the middle of the pack, eventually being just tagged by the EBM Porsche. After the safety car restart, we then had the Lexus in the wall and a red flag. And with about half an hour's worth of racing remaining, we eventually got back to racing conditions with just a couple of laps for the bronze drivers to get their teeth into. And therefore, some over-exuberance from some and some very, very careful driving from others. The pit stop window came quickly, and for many, going into the pits straight away was the strategy from Katia Sauer. He stayed out in the lead in his McLaren and tried to build an advantage for rookie teammate Inoue. That pit stop, though, I'm afraid, was too short, and therefore they were handed a penalty, which needed to be served and dropped them down the field. Penalties were also handed out to the 29 and the 37 machines, meaning they were fighting for the scraps of the points. Kawabata in the GTR Nissan attacking, but unfortunately this little slide, this little mistake opened the door for Klaus Bachler to slide his way through. His pace was unbelievable, over a second faster a lap than the Nissan, and though the Nissan then just had to hold on. Klaus Bachler, though, cleared off into the distance, and his first visit to Suzuka took victory for the 911 squad. And no wonder the team were happy. 5 podiums, but the first victory. The podium awaits then for our top 3. And of course, all our different classes get podiums as well. We've got the China Cup, we've got the Japan Cup,
Welcome to the podium ceremony for Race 1 of the Fanatec GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS at Suzuka International Circuit. We will start the ceremony with the GT3 overall winners. Everybody, we welcome with big applause. On third place, car number 18, Hiroaki Nagai, Yuta Kamimura. On second place, car number 500, Hirobon, Shintaro Kawabata. And the winners on first place, car number 911, Butikon Intra Pubasak and Klaus Bachler. Congratulations! And now we gladly invite Patrick Han, Pirelli Motorsport Manager, APAC, to award the trophies, please.
A really, really happy podium for the 911 squad. They've been up there before with two podiums in Buriram.
Let's get together for a photo, please.
And then that race 1 podium in Fuji as well.
Okay, let's squeeze a little bit to take a photo.
But for the Nissan GTR,
Congratulations, and to the media at the pit lane as well.
it is a first podium for them this season.
All right, congratulations, gentlemen. You see it in front of you. Take the champagne, and it's, I guess, champagne time. 前に置いてあるシャンパーニュをお手に取っていただいてまいりますか。めでたいめでたい Congratulations! It's champagne time!
For the 18 squad as well, their first podium of the season. Just a couple of points from Buriram in the first weekend of the year. So great to see them make a return, especially after being in the gravel trap as well.
A little bit.
Vitti's still not managed to open his champagne. You have to remember that there's a race for everything in the world of motorsport.
And the champagne time continues. Congratulations again, gentlemen.
And being the last person to open your champagne usually means you're drenched, but for somehow Vitti has managed to avoid being drenched and gets a little bit of a squirt on the rest of the drivers. That is our podium overall for race 1. Now, of course, things completely change tomorrow because we'll have a very different grid. But look at Wittekorn's lead now, clear at the head of the field over Abu Ibrahim and Lucas Stoltz. They didn't score any points in this race. Neither did Wheelu or Dennis Olsen. Obviously, he's not here, but a lot of our leading contenders scoring absolutely nothing. Anthony Liu in the 37 Mercedes with no points from this particular race. Got to go down to Climax Racing, Dennis Lind and Bihang Zhu in 6th position, the next to the scorers. So the big winner today is Wittekorn Interputhasak, thanks to aiding from Klaus Bachler. What will end up being is that we could quite easily see Wittekorn taking the victory. Now, in the GT4 category, it was a victory for BMW. I said that they would get 50 points, and so they now are equal on points with Toyota Gazoo Racing Indonesia. But the Cayman ends up in the lead of the championship despite finishing 3rd today. The Toyota up to 2nd in the championship despite finishing 2nd, and the BMW only 3rd in the championship. It'll change tomorrow, though. Make sure you come and join us for our 2nd race around lunchtime, Japanese time. Do the conversions yourself. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye for now.
And also to the media staff at the pit lane. All right, you have it in front of you. Let's go champagne time!
The next of our podiums then celebrates. Trying to have a quick look at their race overalls to identify exactly
Congratulations again, gentlemen.
which of this podium is. Of course, we have our overall, but we've got our AM and our silver podiums as well. And then we've got the Japanese Cup and the China Cup too. I think that might have been Comet Racing in there, so that was probably the AM podium. And so that leaves us with the silver podium to enjoy in a few moments' time.
And now we have the GT4 Silver AM winners. We welcome with big applause on second place, car number 71, Masayoshi Oyama, Ryohei Sakaguchi. おめでとうございます。And the winners on first place, car number 50, Masaki Kano, Manabu Orido. おめでとうございます。And now we gladly invite Onda Eisaku, President of Dixel, to award the trophies, please.
So it looks as though perhaps the Porsche ended up not finishing in the GT4 race, because just two representatives of our GT4 category are on our podium. Masaki Kano and Max Orido, the winners. I did think we saw the Porsche, because I'm pretty sure it was being lapped at the time. But of course, the Porsche is in the AM category, and this is the silver AM category. That is why. So we're not doing the overall GT4 podium. We are celebrating a separate podium.
下のメディアさんたちにも目線をお送りください。Congratulations again. それでは目の前のシャンパーニュをお手に取っていただいて。
Now the big task will be to fight tomorrow between these two. Obviously a big gap in race one. A little agreement, a gentleman's agreement on the podium.
おめでとうございます。
Probably was, please don't spray me. Let's spray the outside. We want to keep these overalls nice and fresh for tomorrow. Or certainly not smelling of champagne anyway. Always nice to have that second category within a race. It gives you a second race to talk about, but it also provides a challenge for that top class when they come chase down the GT4 cars. To get past them is such a challenge. So one more podium to go then, and I imagine it's going to be the GT4 AM podium. So just the one Porsche then on that podium.
And now we have the winners of the GT4 AM class. We welcome with big applause on first place, car number 718, Naohiko Otsuka and Sho Kobayashi. おめでとうございます。 And now we gladly invite Onda Eisaku, President of Dixel, to award the trophies, please.
Naoko Otsuka desperately trying to get his hands on the champagne there, I think, as he got onto the podium.
ぜひ撮影の方へ、行きましょうかね。Let's take a photo.
And Shu Kobayashi alongside him.
下のメディアさんたちにも目線をお送りください。
Looks very, very happy, doesn't he?
よろしいですかね。それではシャンパーニュをお手
Didn't
に
get
取
a
っていた
huge
だい
amount
て
of racing as the first driver, but still looks like he's enjoyed his afternoon and gets the chance to spray some champagne
It's
on the
champagne
podium.
time. Let's go.
Quite sure where his aim is planned. Oh, he's got his driver. See, that Shu was being so very well behaved there. But trouble eventually
はい、改めておめでとうございました。
That's all of our podiums done and dusted then. Let's once again take a look at the highlights of this first race. Race 1 here at Suzuka. And on the pole position, Kitasawa making a good start, but the best start was made by the Mercedes coming up through the inside here. The number 3 machine claiming third position as the number 4 Porsche dropped its way back. First lap through the S-curves, always a challenge, and the D-station Aston Martin ended up facing the wrong direction, collected by EBM. And then after the safety car period, we also had a Lexus in the wall, which meant a red flag. We only went racing with a couple of minutes left before the pit lane opened, which meant lots of over-exuberance out on circuit from our bronze competitors before they handed over to the professional in the Pro-Am category. The pits got very, very busy for a couple of laps. But Kitasawa stayed out in the McLaren and gave himself a nice, healthy advantage, handing over to his inexperienced young teammate Inoue. The pit stop itself was too short, and unfortunately the McLaren therefore would be given a penalty. In GT4, BMW absolutely dominating, as they have done throughout the weekend so far. Great to have the 500 Nissan GTR with us this weekend, fastest in practice, and held on to the early part of the second half of the race, but Klaus Bachler was coming at a rate of knots, a second a lap faster than the GTR, and eventually managed to get his way through and into the lead. It had also been a very good start from Vitakorn, his teammate, to get himself up into 7th position before the pit stops. It was a win, the first win of the season for Vitakorn, and Klaus Bachler joining the team for the first time here at Suzuka, and Absolute Racing absolutely ecstatic. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We are going to be racing again tomorrow lunchtime here in Japan for the second of our races, with the pros starting first and then the AMs second. It should be another fascinating encounter. Join us then. Thanks for watching.